Welcome to Panda Tale. I hope you have a great time listening to the story. If you enjoy it, don't forget to give me a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. The Crown Prince regarded his elder sister as his moonlight goddess, but in her heart, there was already another lover. To elope with her beloved, my sister used a fake death to force me to help her stage her demise and escape the royal engagement. When the Crown Prince heard of her passing, he was devastated. Later, he brought me into the Eastern Palace as her substitute to continue living. After our marriage, I kept the secret of her fake death, wholeheartedly helping the Crown Prince ascend to the throne. Over time, feelings developed between us. The Crown Prince, deeply affectionate, promised me he would never betray me. On the day of the Crown Prince's coronation, my sister, who should have been dead, suddenly returned. She said I had framed her, claiming the fake death was my plot to harm her. As I was about to explain, my sister stabbed a silver hairpin straight into my throat. Before dying, I saw the Crown Prince embrace my sister. The two of them, one returned from death, one who lost and found their old love again, their passion burning bright, trampled on my corpse as they kissed each other endlessly. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my sister took the death-mimicking drug. I lowered my eyes to look at the sleeping face of my sister, pretending to be dead. I firmly closed the coffin lid. Perhaps this time, let my sister die for real. Only by faking death could one escape the royal family's marriage contract. Afterward, she would travel the world with her lover, their love deep and lasting. Sister, you'll help me with this, won't you? When I opened my eyes, my elder sister Victoria was begging me to help her fake her death. On this day in my previous life, my sister had also cast aside the dignity of a noble eldest daughter, using this pitiful appearance to sincerely beg me to help fake her death to elope with her lover. My sister and I were both born into a third-rank general's family. As the eldest daughter, she had been chosen from childhood to be the future crown princess. Everything about her was cultivated according to the royal family's preferred standards. Indeed, my sister's training was very successful. At the palace banquet 3 years ago, it was rumored that the Crown Prince merely glanced at my sister from afar and fell completely in love with her, wishing he could immediately welcome her to the Eastern Palace. But the Crown Prince had to follow royal protocols, patiently waiting for the appropriate time to discuss the marriage. During those 3 years of secret admiration, without obtaining her, my sister became the Crown Prince's unreachable moonlight. The Crown Prince never expected that my sister had been seduced by a poor scholar studying at the general's mansion. During that period, the Crown Prince's health was affected by some conspiracy, leaving him sickly. During his worst illness, the Crown Prince specifically requested to see my sister. When my sister came to the Eastern Palace to care for the Crown Prince with medicine, the Crown Prince couldn't suppress the discomfort in his chest and even vomited filth all over my sister. Since they were still in the Eastern Palace, my sister didn't dare lose her temper. Only after returning to the general's mansion did she cry while hugging her face, her whole body reeking of soreness. Mother sighed deeply. The Crown Prince is seriously ill. Even if he recovers one day, I fear it won't last long. Could it be that my daughter, once married, will become a widow of the royal family? My sister, hearing these sighs, became even more desperate. During this time, her feelings with that scholar deepened day by day. Later, as the wedding day approached, my sister wholeheartedly wanted to elope with that scholar, but was bound by heavy shackles. She could only seek death for liberation. My sister's lover had somehow obtained a drug that could make one fake death. The pill would cause the person to lose breath and pulse for 7 days, falling into a death-like state. My sister didn't dare disturb father and mother, so she begged me for help. Defying the royal marriage contract was a capital crime. Moreover, if discovered faking death to deceive the royal family, it would result in the extermination of 9 generations. I truly didn't understand why this scholar was worthy of a noble lady like my sister. I earnestly advised her to calm down. No matter how weak the Crown Prince was, if my sister married him, she could still enjoy glory and wealth in the future. Compared to a poor scholar without even achievements or career, this wandering life would be countless times better. But my sister acted noble and criticized me, saying I didn't understand what love was. My sister forced me to help her fake death. As my half-sister from a different mother, I understood her suffering and softened my heart to agree. After my sister took the death-mimicking drug, I arranged to switch the coffin to one with air holes and instructed someone to bring that scholar into the tomb on the 7th day to rescue my sister. Then I prepared carriages and travel funds for them. I sent them off as my sister eloped with him to the ends of the earth. I did this very carefully without revealing any flaws. The family and the crown prince never suspected my sister's death. But after the crown prince overcame his grief, he suddenly discovered that I, the half-sister from a different mother, looked very much like the person in his dreams. So he married me into the Eastern Palace as a concubine. I truly didn't expect things to develop this way, but I was just a sheltered young lady chosen by the royal family with no ability to resist. After marrying into the Eastern Palace, I kept my sister's fake death secret, carefully living day by day. At first, the crown prince wouldn't even glance at me, only treating me as a tool to satisfy his desires, calling out my sister's name in front of me. My life was worse than death, so I had to compete for favor myself. But no matter what I did, the crown prince would scold me as a copycat. Shinodi, Dongxi, refers to an ugly woman in Chinese legend famous for trying to imitate Shishi, a renowned beauty, until I brought a bowl of medicinal soup to the crown prince. My mother was originally a Western Rong female physician captured by my father from the battlefield, who preserved her life through her medical skills. Growing up, I absorbed and learned Western Rong medicine. The crown prince, tired of the Imperial Medical Academy's prescriptions, liked drinking my medicinal soup. Western Rong medicine differed slightly from the usual remedies at the Imperial Medical Academy. Unexpectedly, I made an unusual move and cured the crown prince's difficult illness. As the crown prince's health improved day by day, his temperament changed for the better. He looked at me differently, calling me his lifesaver. My parents thought my sister had truly died from illness. Seeing the crown prince showing signs of recovery, they placed all their hopes on me, the half-sister from a different mother, helping me wholeheartedly. 2 years later, I helped the crown prince recuperate his body and occasionally offered strategies to help him secure his position as crown prince. Life improved thanks to my cleverness. Until the 2nd year after my sister eloped, I received a letter from her. In the letter, she complained to me that her lover had no ambition for advancement and had squandered all her savings. She said her lover frequented brothels, and the poems once used to praise her were now given to courtesans. It turned out my sister wasn't unique after all. When drunk, he would even beat my sister, saying insulting words. From the letter, I sensed my sister regretted her decision, but things had reached this point. My sister had been determined to elope with her lover, faking her death too decisively. There was no turning back now. If she returned, it would certainly implicate 9 generations. So I secretly used money to help my sister, ensuring that even if she left that man, she could live a free and comfortable life. At that time, the crown prince took me on a tour to Jiangnan. Everyone envied me for receiving such exclusive favor. My sister in the distant lands also heard the news. She wrote in her letter, "I heard my younger sister has become a favored concubine of the crown prince. If I hadn't eloped, this glorious life would have been mine." My sister didn't know how I had suffered humiliation in the Eastern Palace. Actually, this wasn't something to envy. I also didn't notice the abnormality in my sister's letter. Half a year later, my sister stopped contacting me. Another year passed, and the emperor passed away. The night before the crown prince's coronation, he looked at me affectionately and said, "Sophia, I can grant you the position of noble consort. I will absolutely never betray you." He planned to posthumously honor my sister as empress to console the soul of his early departed dream girl. I had done so much, yet in the end, I was still just a noble consort. But I knew enough. In his eyes, I was just a tool to satisfy his desires. He didn't need my love and even found it troublesome. Such a title was already quite good. No one expected that on the day of the crown prince's coronation, my sister, who had been dead for 2 years, would return. She wore coarse clothing with only a silver hairpin in her hair, her whole person looking haggard as if she had suffered for a long time. The moment my sister appeared, the crown prince's gaze was drawn to her. While I was still in shock, my sister had already thrown herself into the crown prince's arms. She cried pitifully in his embrace. Though her face was haggard, it remained youthful. Tears washing away the dust made her even more delicately beautiful and moving. The crown prince was astonished. "Victoria, you're alive." My heart jumped to my throat. Once he discovered what happened years ago, that my sister faked her death, our entire family would be exterminated. But unexpectedly, my sister suddenly pointed at me and said, she wanted to replace me and marry into the Eastern Palace, so she poisoned me. Fortunately, I was saved. But for these 2 years, I lost my memory. Only 2 days ago did I recover my memories. My sister weakly leaned against the Crown Prince's chest. I've remembered everything. It turns out I'm your Highness's betrothed. Your Highness loved me so deeply. Yet I was almost killed by my sister, breaking your Highness's heart. That's not true. That's not true, I loudly protested. Clearly, it was you who disregarded responsibility to the family and used a fake death to escape freely. Now you're falsely accusing me in reverse, saying I orchestrated the fake death to poison you that day. Sister was formerly a Western wrong witch, proficient in various insects and poisons. She used these methods to harm me. My sister cried pitifully in the Crown Prince's arms, her thin shoulders trembling. You're lying, I had letters to prove it. That day, it was clearly you who faked it. But before I could finish speaking, my throat suddenly throbbed with pain, blood spattering on the ground. I looked down in disbelief. The silver hairpin in my sister's hand had pierced deep into my throat. My sister's eyes were filled with hatred. The 2 years of suffering she endured with her lover had all transformed into this hairpin, stabbing straight into my throat. I couldn't speak another word, falling to the ground and writhing as blood sprayed everywhere. The Crown Prince, whom I had cured with my medicine, now coldly watched me. He lifted my sister's face and kissed her passionately. He told my sister, your half-sister from a different mother was only ever a substitute for you. As long as you appear, she means nothing to me. I will make you my only legitimate wife, my only empress. Victoria, I've found you again. My sister returned. The dead person came back to life. Lost love found again burned sweet as honey, hot as fire, inseparable. At that moment, I finally understood. I could only die in the palace, while my sister had countless paths to retreat. My sister, betrayed by her lover, ran back to the palace, choosing the perfect timing to sit on the empress's throne. While I, struggling to survive in the palace, was trampled underfoot by the Crown Prince, becoming the most tragic joke. Sister, will you help me or not? Seeing my hesitation, my sister suddenly pulled out the golden hairpin from my head. I was startled by the sharp gleam from the hairpin's point. Instinctively, I covered my neck, seeing my sister hold the hairpin to her own throat. Only then did I realize I had been reborn to the moment when my sister planned to fake her death. If there's no love from Adrian, I'm as good as dead already. Just like in my previous life, my sister forced me to help her fake death. I coldly watched her, easily snatching the golden hairpin away. Sister, I'll help you. My sister never doubted me. From childhood to adulthood, I was the obedient younger sister who always listened to her and respected her greatly. She took out a red pill, saying, "This is the instant death pill that Adrian gave me. Just taking this pill will make me lose breath and pulse for 7 days and nights. On the 7th day at the same hour, I'll wake up. I'll start pretending to be sick 2 days before, then take the pill on the 3rd day. Everyone in the household will spread the news that I died from a severe cold." She gripped my hand, instructing seriously, "Sister, when the time comes, you must leave air holes in my coffin, and the coffin lid should be made of lighter wood. That way, when I wake up on the 7th day, I'll have the strength to push it open and won't suffocate. When I wake up, Adrian will come to take me away." She told me her entire plan. This wasn't trusting me but commanding me. Noble eldest daughters always believed that secondary daughters wouldn't dare disobey their orders. "Just do this well, and you'll be my best sister." My sister made me look into her eyes and agree. She knew that secondary daughters feared nothing more than looking into the eldest daughter's deep eyes. The eldest daughter's eyes were the most terrifying thing in a secondary daughter's life, while the eldest daughter's recognition was what the secondary daughter desired most. My sister was very certain I wouldn't dare lie when facing her eyes. I held my sister's hand. "What I've desired most in this life isn't fame, but to receive my sister's praise and recognition. I will definitely help you fulfill this beautiful fate." Everything proceeded according to the plan from my previous life. My sister first pretended to have a cold, refusing to attend palace banquets. After feigning illness for 2 days, she took the instant death pill. That night, my sister stopped breathing and had no pulse. The instant death pill was indeed powerful, fooling all the imperial physicians. Finally, news of my sister's death was reported to the palace. Father and mother cried their hearts out. Father cried because the daughter he had invested so much effort in cultivating for years to be the crown princess and future empress had died so meaninglessly. Mother cried genuinely. After all, it was her biological daughter. But in my previous life, after my sister died and came back to life, even if the couple noticed something strange about her death, they didn't dare speak up. They tacitly acknowledged that I had harmed my sister to death, a deserving crime. Soon, the custom-made coffin was delivered to the mansion. I knocked on the coffin where my sister lay, remembering to leave air holes on both sides. The coffin lid, though it looked thick, was hollow inside. With just a woman's strength, it could be pushed open. Early the next morning, I burned incense to make my eyes red and swollen, then went to my parents crying, saying my sister had appeared in my dreams last night. My sister said she didn't like wooden coffins, because they would be eaten by insects and waterlogged in the ground over time. My sister, who loved beauty in life, how could she endure such things? In my dream last night, my sister cried all night. My sister also said, my parents urgently asked what else. What other wishes does my sister have that she would appear in dreams? I said with tears in my eyes, my sister said she wants a stone coffin. Stone coffins are thick and heavy, won't be eaten by insects or waterlogged, and are sturdy and beautiful. Only lying in a stone coffin can my sister rest in peace. Mother cried even harder hearing this. My poor daughter. Father shook his head and sighed, then changed it to a stone coffin. The child was pampered from young, even in death. She shouldn't suffer like this. Before the burial, my sister was placed in the stone coffin. I deliberately came early to gaze at my sister's peaceful face. She looked as if she were just deeply asleep. It was indeed just sleep, but everyone thought she was dead. Then let her truly die. Sister, rest in peace. Close the coffin lid. 3 or 4 strong men were about to close the stone coffin lid when suddenly a shout came from outside. Who dares close the coffin? My heart jumped. Looking up, I saw Crown Prince Alexander Sterling, his eyes red-rimmed, gritting his teeth with certainty. My Victoria hasn't died. The Crown Prince staggered to the coffin's side, looking at my sister's beautiful sleeping face, murmuring in extreme grief, Victoria, if you hadn't died, I would still have had the chance to marry you as my crown princess. Why did you leave like this? I breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out the Crown Prince had only come to express his infatuation. I had worried for nothing. Fearing the palace physicians had discovered something to alert the Crown Prince to the truth. The Crown Prince sorrowfully touched the cold stone coffin, hesitantly asking, why use a stone coffin? My parents had cried until they couldn't answer. I stepped forward, weakly bowing with tears in my eyes. Your Highness, my sister appeared in my dreams saying she feared underground insects eating her, so we changed to a stone coffin. Saying this, I let a fake tear roll down, slowly looking up at the Crown Prince. Just like in my previous life, when he clearly saw my face, the Crown Prince's eyes widened for a moment. His love for my sister was real, but his fickle nature of changing affections every half-month was also real. Indeed, the dead cannot return to life. Before me appeared a living, delicate noble lady. He sighed. Suddenly his face paled, swaying and falling. Your Highness. I fear he's grieved too much and fallen ill. Quickly help His Highness rest. The Crown Prince was taken to the warm pavilion to rest. My parents had to care for this royal noble. I looked at my sister lying in the stone coffin and coldly commanded, quickly close the coffin lid. 3 or 4 young men worked together to close the stone coffin tightly, not even a breath air could enter. On the 7th day, my dear sister was carried into the noble's tomb. Officials from across the capital came to pay respects to the early, departed eldest daughter. They even set up memorial altars on the streets. With such a grand scale, the entire capital knew the Blackwood family's eldest daughter had died from illness. After all the funeral rites ended and we returned to the Blackwood mansion, it was already dark. Anna, my close maid, ran over saying someone seemed to be following us on the way back. Second miss. I lifted the teacup from the table, looking toward my sister's chambers. 7 days ago at the hour of the dog, my sister took the death-mimicking drug. 7 days later at this moment, my sister would wake up from the stone coffin. Come walk with me, I said. I put down the teacup, standing up with interest and walking out of the mansion. Anna followed beside me, advising, "Miss, it's already dark. Don't go out anymore." "How can we see the show if we don't go out?" "If you're scared, you don't need to follow me." I walked alone out the mansion gates. After just a few steps, I was indeed stopped by a blade in a dark alley. "Sophia Blackwood. Where did you bury your sister?" "Under the moonlight." My sister's beloved Adrian Chun held a knife to my neck. He no longer had the scholarly elegance he showed before my sister. His eyes now revealed a fierce glint as he pressed me. "You're half an hour late. Do you want to ruin the whole plan?" According to our agreement, I should have met Adrian half an hour earlier at the tomb. When my sister woke up, Adrian was alert. He threatened me. "Let me tell you, nothing can happen to your sister, or I'll definitely drag you down with me to share the same fate." I understood how worried he was for my sister's life, only I knew clearly how greedy he was for my sister's beauty, and even more greedy for the wealth my sister would take when eloping. Adrian couldn't properly propose to my sister. He couldn't even cross the threshold of the Blackwood mansion. He could only use tricks to deceive my sister into eloping with him. He would get not only the person but also the money. So many things happened in the mansion. How could I come on time? I calmly pushed his blade away, turned and walked back. "It's almost the hour of the dog now. She should be waking up." "Hurry to the tomb to pick her up," Adrian greedily asked. "Did you bring the banknotes, house deeds, and land contracts? Your sister has lived luxuriously for so many years. Without these as dowry when eloping, she'll have to live in hardship." How laughable! He was using my sister to threaten me. In my previous life, I had felt sorry for my sister, fearing she had misplaced her true feelings. Now, how my sister lived in hardship had nothing to do with me. "There will be a surprise dowry in the tomb." I comforted him. "Don't worry, I'll give you and my sister a surprise when you elope." Adrian now only cared about money. Hearing I had arranged everything, he finally sheathed his knife. In the tomb. The deeper the night, the more secluded. The tomb entrance mechanism had already been opened. Adrian let me lead the way. My sister's tomb was built spaciously but winding. I deliberately pretended to be lost, leading Adrian in circles for 2 rounds until the hour of the dog. From deep within the tomb suddenly came a woman's terrified, desperate scream. "Aha! Why can't I push it open? I'm not dead, let me out, save me." Adrian immediately followed the sound. Soon he saw that stone coffin. "Aha! Why can't I push it open? Let me out dead, I'm not dead, save me, save me." My sister's pitiful screams grew more and more miserable, sounding like a female ghost causing havoc in the tomb. "Why is it a stone coffin?" Adrian cried out in shock. He turned to glare at me. I innocently shrugged. "Adrian, Adrian." Hearing her lover's voice, my sister began continuously calling his name. Adrian responded while trying to pry open the stone coffin, but that lid required 3 or 4 strong men working together to move. What could a mere scholar do? No matter how hard he tried, the coffin lid wouldn't budge. My sister's screams inside the coffin grew more and more pitiful. My sister woke up after the death, mimicking drug wore off, completely unprepared for the coffin to be sealed so tightly. Only when she knew the coffin couldn't open did she desperately scream. But the more pitifully she screamed, the faster the air inside depleted. I coldly stood watching. In just about the time for a cup of tea more, she would suffocate to death inside the coffin. My sister's cries for help grew weaker. Adrian panicked to the extreme, using his knife to pry a gap in the stone coffin lid. He also found an iron rod dropped in the tomb. Though just a scholar, he knew to use clever tricks. Before my sister suffocated, he managed to find a way to pry the coffin open successfully. The stone coffin lid fell to the ground with a heavy thud, flipping outward. On it were bloodstains from my sister's scratching. My sister sat up from the coffin, opening her mouth to gulp the outside air. Her clothes were disabled from fear and struggle. As soon as she saw Adrian, my sister immediately hugged him tightly, crying and laughing. "Adrian, I thought I'd never see you again." Victoria escaped death, gratefully kissing Adrian's cheek. My sister regarded her lover as a hero. After extreme tension, Adrian was easily aroused. He bit and kissed my sister's shoulders and neck several times. The tomb couldn't stop this adulterous couple from making love right there. After their intimacy, Adrian comforted my sister a few words, then turned to question me. "Sophia Blackwood, just now when I was saving your sister, why didn't you help? Why was your sister in a stone coffin? Did you do this?" Do you want to harm and kill your sister? Do you want to destroy our plan? What plan? I don't understand what you're saying. I pretended innocence. Only then did my sister begin to suspect. She crawled out of the coffin, her fingernails on both hands worn down by the stone lid, but she still had strength to rush over and slap me. You vile person. You clearly knew I faked death, yet you still dared persuade father and mother to put me in a stone coffin. You wanted me to suffocate to death. Sister faked death. What was sister faking death for? You're still pretending to be ignorant at this point. I faked death, of course, to elope with Adrian. You still. My sister, having just escaped oxygen deprivation, spoke faster than she thought, saying things without any restraint. Adrian sensed something wrong and stopped my sister's words. This brat definitely has some conspiracy to harm us. Better to just kill her and silence her. My sister heard this and also guarded against me. Years of sisterly affection lost to one sentence of incitement from her lover. She stared at the stone coffin. Sister, that stone coffin is arranged by you. Then tonight, you can try the feeling of being inside it. Adrian picked up the knife from the ground, step by step approaching me. Hand over the banknotes and land deeds. I'll let you die with your corpse intact. Otherwise, I'll chop you into 8 pieces. This is a tomb. After tonight, no one will discover your corpse. Of course, I pretended fear, backing up 2 steps and crying loudly. Save me. Save me. Adrian coldly laughed. Save you? Who will come save you? Someone will save her. An extremely cold voice rang out. My sister's whole body trembled. The crown prince, originally hidden in the shadows, appeared standing behind me. Guards accompanying him surrounded the entire tomb. Adrian, being just a scholar, dropped his knife in fear as soon as the guards drew their swords, kneeling on the ground. I pointed at my sister with disheveled clothes, still very much alive, and reported to the crown prince. Your Highness, I already said my sister faked death to elope. Do you believe me now? Ah. That day when the crown prince fainted at the Blackwood mansion, I had given him medicine. The crown prince's illness was a lingering effect from being poisoned years ago. The Imperial Medical Academy followed traditional treatment methods, which were ineffective for years. The medicine I offered was a prescription I had researched for 2 years in my previous life, containing fire elements mixed with my blood. I deliberately told the crown prince that since childhood, my mother had given me 100 herbs pills to consume, growing up with them, so my blood could be used as medicine. That medicine was the result of my 2 years of research from my previous life. Of course it was immediately effective. As soon as he drank it, the crown prince's dizziness and headaches dissipated. So you're my medicine catalyst. The crown prince lifted my chin, examining my face. I pretended to be docile like a kitten, nuzzling into the crown prince's palm. Your Highness, considering my prescription cured you, please forgive my sister's crime of faking death. The crown prince was puzzled. Your medicine cured me. That's merit, so why would it be a crime? I asked the crown prince to dismiss everyone, then knelt on the ground with determined eyes. I want to report my sister for adultery, faking death to break her engagement, wanting to elope with her lover. The crown prince's gaze turned cold. No one could commit such deception. Even if it was the woman he loved most? You say Victoria faked death. I dare not speak half a lie. The reason my sister is lying there is because she took death, mimicking medicine. She faked death to break her engagement with the Eastern Palace and elope with her lover. She forced me to cooperate with this plan. I truly couldn't bear to see my sister ruin the Blackwood family's reputation, nor did I want to hurt your Highness, so I didn't speak earlier. If your Highness doesn't believe me, you can lead troops to ambush around the tomb tonight at the 4th watch. I looked straight into the crown prince's doubtful eyes, each word ringing clear. I will lead that adulterer here, so your Highness can catch them red-handed. The crown prince hid in the shadows, observing for a long time, seeing the entire scene of my sister coming back from death, embracing and kissing Adrian. He saw how my sister questioned me about why I didn't cooperate with the fake death elopement plan. He also saw how my sister's lover wanted to kill me to silence me. The crown prince witnessed everything with his own eyes. My sister still held hope, probing. Your Highness, why are you here? Since you said you faked death to elope with your lover, I've been here. The crown prince reached out to touch the kiss marks that lover had just created on my sister's neck. My sister trembled all over. Your Highness, please let me explain. Explain. The Crown Prince laughed coldly, suddenly tightening his hand to choke my sister's neck. Victoria Blackwood, you dare fake death to deceive me. The next morning at dawn, the Blackwood mansion gates were kicked open. Victoria and Adrian were thrown into the main hall by guards. Father and mother, hearing the commotion, ran out to see their supposedly dead eldest daughter now standing alive before them, with disheveled clothes, alongside a poor scholar thrown to the ground by guards. The Crown Prince angrily held his sword, the blade tip pointing straight between father's brows. General Blackwood, you've raised your daughter well indeed. The Blackwood eldest daughter dares to elope with her lover, even faking death to break our engagement. This crime alone is enough to exterminate your family's 9 generations. Mother was still in shock. Father immediately understood everything. Victoria, you didn't die but eloped with your lover. How dare you pull such a stunt? Father, don't call me father. You used the lives of hundreds in the Blackwood family to satisfy your own selfish desires. All my years of cultivation wasted. My sister gritted her teeth with tears. Purple bruises from the Crown Prince's choking still marked her neck. The Crown Prince hadn't killed her on the spot, even escorting her back to the Blackwood mansion under cover of night without alerting others. Based on these points, Victoria gambled that the Crown Prince still had feelings for her. She suddenly pointed at me and said, I had no idea about faking death. It was clearly my sister's conspiracy. It's all her. She used drugs to harm me. That's right, exactly like that. And that Adrian, he's my sister's accomplice. He conspired with my sister to ruin my reputation. Crown Prince, Your Highness, please see clearly. Victoria knelt at the Crown Prince's feet, desperately denying guilt and placing all blame on me. Mother reacted quickly, immediately echoing, that's right, it's Sophia who framed my sister. Victoria is intelligent and knowledgeable, the most proper and virtuous young lady in the capital. How could she possibly elope? It must be Sophia, jealous of the eldest daughter, who put poison in her cold medicine, wanting to kill Victoria so she could marry into the Eastern Palace and enjoy glory and wealth. Crown Prince, please don't misunderstand Victoria. Father was also cunning. Seeing the fake death elopement had been exposed by the Crown Prince himself, no amount of defense could refute it. Between two evils, choose the lesser. At this critical moment, of course he had to protect the eldest daughter. He also knelt down. Your Highness, Victoria is innocent. It's all Sophia's doing. Her mother was a Western wrong witch who understood all kinds of strange and poisonous drugs. That rare death, mimicking drug, I fear my Victoria had never even heard of it. It must be Sophia who made the death, mimicking drug to harm the eldest daughter. She even dared to commit adultery with that Adrian Chen. He pretended grief, kowtowing to the ground. This old minister failed to discipline strictly. I beg your Highness's punishment. But this crime was all caused by the secondary daughter. This secondary daughter is the child of a Western wrong witch, not truly of the Blackwood family. Her crimes shouldn't implicate the entire Blackwood family. I stood aside watching Father cold, selfish face and suddenly laughed. Truly worthy of being General Blackwood. Years ago on the battlefield, you lusted after my mother's beauty, kidnapped her back, and forced her to bear children. Then you imprisoned her in the back quarters, forcing her to make medicine, never giving her freedom. When my mother died, you pretended to cry pitifully, playing the devoted husband. Now that the eldest daughter has committed a capital crime, you don't hesitate to cast out me and my mother from the Blackwood family. I shouldn't feel hurt, I'm long used to this. This couple never truly considered me their daughter. In my sister's eyes, I was just a stepping stone to be sacrificed and trampled at will. What are you laughing at? The Crown Prince looked at me. I stopped laughing and said, I laugh at their stupidity. Actually, proving my sister and that scholar have no relationship is very simple. I threw a knife to my sister, telling her to personally kill that scholar. That way, wouldn't it prove that in my sister's heart, there's only your Highness? Victoria suddenly raised her head, glaring at me. Sophia, sister, you're truly vicious? Vicious, I laughed back. Didn't Adrian help you then? You keep saying he plotted against you. Then he's your enemy, right? I'm telling you to kill your enemy, and you call me vicious. How contradictory. Victoria was left speechless by my words. Victoria, if you kill Adrian, I'll believe you're innocent. If not. The Crown Prince glanced meaningfully. Immediately, the surrounding guards all drew their swords in unison. If not, Tonight I'll exterminate the Blackwood family's 9 generations. Father Blackwood trembled all over, shocked as he looked at the Crown Prince. Your Highness, Victoria has been wronged. Silence, the Crown Prince shouted. Father Blackwood dared not speak further. They had calculated that the Crown Prince's favor for the eldest daughter would surely make him lenient with her. But they didn't know how the eldest daughter had died and come back to life, how she had been entangled with Adrian in the tomb. Everything had been witnessed by the Crown Prince. Evidence was ironclad. No matter how much the Crown Prince liked the eldest daughter, he couldn't pretend it never happened. Do it. Sister, if you and Adrian have nothing between you, why won't you act? I stepped forward, stuffing the knife into my sister's hand. Is love more important, or are parents more important? Do it. You don't dare. So you have other thoughts. Why won't you act? It proves you and Adrian have improper feelings. You faked death to elope with that man. You dare challenge royal authority. You dare deceive the sovereign. You seek your own death while dragging the entire Blackwood family to die with you. You're exactly the kind of adulterous couple who harms the country and people. I continuously provoked my sister. She gripped the knife tightly, glaring at me, her whole body trembling with shame and anger. Do it, Victoria. Father Blackwood finally couldn't hold back, commanding. Prove your innocence. Prove our Blackwood family's innocence. Do it. Is love more important than the family? Mother also begged. Victoria, kill him quickly. Kill that man. You're still the Blackwood family's most noble eldest daughter. You're still the Crown Princess. Under multiple pressures, Victoria held up the knife. The servants had already bound Adrian's hands and feet tightly, his mouth gagged. He couldn't say a word, only looking at my sister with terrified eyes, frantically shaking his head and pleading with inarticulate sounds. Victoria's knife-holding hand trembled violently. Suddenly my sister burst into tears. I can't do it. I love Adrian. Hearing that sentence, the Blackwood parents' faces turned deathly pale. The eldest daughter suddenly cried and complained as if the whole world had wronged her. At the Blackwood mansion, she was surrounded by maids every day, with truly no freedom. Every day she was forced to learn the 4 arts, then royal etiquette, exhausted to the point of breathlessness. At the mansion, she could only ride in fancy carriages, wearing heavy gold and jeweled hairpins that weighed down her head suffocatingly. She looked at Adrian with eyes full of love. Only Adrian can bring me freedom. He'll cook me a bowl of hot wild vegetable porridge. That's the countryside flavor I've never tasted. Only he's willing to let me wash dishes and do laundry. Only he doesn't require me to maintain a noble lady's dignity. Only with him do I feel useful every day, feel like myself. I hate those carriages. I'd rather walk hundreds of miles with him to see wildflowers. That's what normal couples do. That's the simple life I want, not following all kinds of rules in the Eastern Palace's golden cage. Victoria looked at the Crown Prince and said, I don't need a luxurious life. True love is better than all glory and wealth. With love, even drinking water fills you up. After saying those words, the knife fell from Victoria's hand. Suddenly my sister collapsed to the ground, fainting. The Crown Prince unconsciously stepped forward to catch her, but restrained himself in time. I saw in his eyes disappointment and helplessness that were hard to conceal when looking at my unconscious sister. But quickly, that disappointment turned into angry flames. Because I had given my unconscious sister medicine to fake a 3-month pregnancy. This time it was the Crown Prince's turn to faint from anger. The Crown Prince was helped to rest in the warm pavilion at the Blackwood mansion. I prepared medicine for him. When the Crown Prince woke, he painfully rubbed his temples, unable to figure it out. In Victoria's eyes, that poor, unsuccessful scholar is better than me, the most noble Crown Prince under heaven. I set down the warm medicine beside him and waited for him to calm down. Your Highness is the most noble man under heaven, second only to the Emperor. It's not your Highness's fault that my sister is like this. She's just temporarily bewitched and gone astray. I have a way to make my sister regret what she did today. The Crown Prince looked at me. What way? My sister is like this because she's too infatuated with that scholar. Now she's pregnant. If we force an abortion, my sister will definitely resent your Highness. The more you forbid it, the more she'll think she and Adrian are a match made in heaven, and their feelings will deepen. The Crown Prince frowned. Can't release her, can't capture her either. Why not let your Highness just let her elope with that scholar? Fulfill them. She doesn't like a luxurious life. Then let your highness strip her of gold hairpins and fine clothes. Let her live the commoner couple's life she desires with that scholar. Let her eat a few more bowls of wild vegetable porridge, help that scholar wash clothes and dishes a few more times. For a sheltered noble lady, such a life might be a fresh experience for the first few days. But after a few months, no matter how deep the feelings, it'll be hard to endure. Let alone several years. The Crown Prince understood my meaning. He hesitated slightly. He liked my sister so much that even if his head grew a forest of green, he couldn't bear to let go. Can't bear to kill, unwilling to release. The medicine is just right. I held a silver needle, pricking my fingertip in front of the Crown Prince, then dripping a drop of blood into the medicine. I held up the medicine bowl with both hands, offering it to the Crown Prince. Your Highness, please take your medicine first today. Health is most important. The Crown Prince carefully examined my appearance. Indeed, very similar to my sister, with similar temperament, just gentler, more understanding, and better at dealing with people than her. The Crown Prince suddenly lifted my chin. I want you to be my medicine catalyst for life. Meaning he wanted me to be his Crown Princess. Beyond my expectations, I pretended to be flattered yet frightened. Your Highness, but I'm just a secondary daughter. So what if you're a secondary daughter? Your sister, though of noble status, faked death, committed adultery, got pregnant out of wedlock, doing shameless things that implicate 9 generations while still daring to do them. Victoria dares betray me and find another man. I naturally can marry another woman too. The Crown Prince was angry with Victoria. Unlike my previous life where I was just a pawn in their love game, this life I could also become the one moving the pawns. I actively leaned into the Crown Prince's embrace. Based on experience from living together in my previous life, I temporarily understood this man, knowing he liked women who obeyed and admired him. So I put on the appearance the Crown Prince preferred, coquettishly saying, "Then your Highness must favor me greatly. Only then can my sister know what a huge mistake it was to lose your Highness." The Blackwood parents worried anxiously for 3 days, trembling with fear of family extermination. Unexpectedly, they received a marriage decree. The Crown Prince personally went to ask the Emperor to marry me as his Crown Princess. Though I was a secondary daughter, I was still a daughter of a third-rank general's mansion. The Emperor thought this marriage somewhat mismatched, but the Crown Prince insisted on marrying me. The Emperor knew the Crown Prince originally liked the Blackwood eldest daughter. Now that the eldest daughter had died early, marrying the secondary daughter was a second choice, but he reluctantly agreed. My sister was currently imprisoned in the Blackwood mansion's woodshed. Fearing exposure of this shameful matter, they didn't even invite outside physicians. All pregnancy-preserving medicine my sister drank was prescribed by me. The Crown Prince decreed. Crown Princess Victoria looked fixedly at the old woman delivering the news, pressing, "Are you certain the decree says granting marriage to Sophia as Crown Princess?"
"Yes, miss."
"The decree clearly states granting marriage to the second miss as Crown Princess. How is this possible? Sophia is just a secondary daughter. How could the Crown Prince like her?" "Miss, you've done so many shameful things. The Crown Prince naturally prefers the second miss more." "Impudent. Who are you to speak to the Blackwood eldest daughter like this?" "Miss." The old woman looked around the room. "The Blackwood eldest daughter is already dead. She was carried into the tomb half a month ago." "Who are you?" "You." News of my sister's fake death had always been tightly concealed by the Blackwood family. Since my sister faked death, she had forever lost the chance to be the legitimate Blackwood eldest daughter again. Moreover, my sister had now committed adultery with another man and gotten pregnant out of wedlock. So letting everyone know the Blackwood eldest daughter was dead was better than living in shame for the Blackwood family. My sister's matter could implicate the entire Blackwood family. Once the Blackwood family was punished, these servants would likely be sold to distant places. This old woman was the eldest in the mansion, usually serving me more. Now seeing father imprison Victoria in the woodshed while I was about to become Crown Princess, she naturally wouldn't recognize Victoria as the dead eldest daughter anymore. Victoria angrily smashed the medicine bowl. I pushed open the door and entered. Shards of the broken bowl flew to my sister's feet. "Sister, don't get angry, it's bad for the baby." I had the old woman withdraw first. The old woman respectfully bowed to me. Now in the mansion, I was the most noble person as the future crown princess. Victoria glared at me. Sophia, everything today is because you harmed me. You betrayed me. You led the crown prince to the tomb. You destroyed my happiness. I covered my mouth and laughed. Sister speaks so amusingly. Was it I who forced sister to commit adultery with that scholar? Was it I who forced sister to secretly get pregnant with that scholar who has no marriage contract? Was it I who forced sister to disregard 9 generations and fake death to elope? My sister turned pale with anger. You said not to get angry, but sister, if you upset the baby, won't you still need me to take your pulse in the end? I smiled, observing my sister. Sister has done such shameful things. Father doesn't even dare invite outside physicians, fearing damage to the Blackwood family's reputation. I laughed, assessing my sister. Sister still knows shame, I see. The angrier my sister got, the more composed I became. I came today to care about sister's health and bring sister good news. A subtle pride flashed in my sister's eyes. I know, that marriage decree is just the crown prince's ploy. He's surely doing this to make me see it and get anxious. You're just a messenger the crown prince sent. Isn't that right? My sister raised her head nobly. Go tell the crown prince, in my heart there's only Adrian. I don't love the crown prince. Tell the crown prince to stop these pointless provocative tricks. Crown Prince Alexander agrees to let you elope with Adrian. Victoria immediately froze. What? His Highness has decided to let you take the child in your belly and reunite with Adrian. Isn't this the ending sister wanted most? Now the crown prince has fulfilled you. On my wedding day you'll be free to live a life full of love with your Adrian. Victoria suddenly felt somewhat lost, mumbling, the crown prince is truly willing. I thought the crown prince would persistently cling. Hearing this, I sneered. The crown prince liked the Blackwood eldest daughter, but that person is already dead, killed by you, sister. The crown prince, angry at Victoria, deliberately organized a grand wedding ceremony with me. Looking from outside, right after the Blackwood eldest daughter passed away, the crown prince hurriedly married the secondary daughter, somewhat trampling on the eldest daughter's dignity. But given the crown prince's status and the emperor's decree, who would dare speak of impropriety? In front of the crowded hall of congratulating officials, in the back courtyard, Victoria had escaped having to wear gold, silver, and jewels as she wished. She wore only servant's clothes with just a silver hairpin in her hair. Sister's belly had begun to show. General Blackwood saw this and coldly reminded her, pull in your stomach. After leaving these gates, you have nothing more to do with the Blackwood family. Father, how can you be so heartless? My daughter died long ago. You're just a runaway, the lowest of the Blackwood family. There's no dowry either. Hearing father say this, Victoria looked devastated. Mother felt very uncomfortable but could do nothing. Adrian was released. Seeing Victoria with nothing of value, truly driven out by the Blackwood family, a strange eagerness flashed in his eyes, but he didn't show it outwardly. He still played the good husband, supporting her, saying, Victoria, let's go. Gold, silver, and jewels are just external things. I'll take good care of you. The two left through the Blackwood mansion's back gate. As Victoria left the Blackwood mansion, hearing the lively atmosphere at the main gate, she couldn't help looking back. She saw her sister who had always obeyed her, today dressed in gorgeous brocade, being celebrated by everyone as she walked toward the flower palanquin to the Eastern Palace. The crown prince specially dismounted to welcome her. At the steps, he directly carried me up, making the crowd cheer. I noticed my sister's gaze and deliberately leaned into the crown prince's arms. Your Highness, she's watching. The person understood. Do you want to punish her? The crown prince understood my meaning. He kissed me. I endured this disgusting kiss. Victoria, watching from afar, rubbed her flat belly through the coarse fabric, her eyes showing vague jealousy. Half a year later, I finally heard news of my sister. During this half year, I had established myself firmly in the Eastern Palace through my medical skills. The crown prince valued me greatly because my blood was his indispensable medicine catalyst. He favored me as if protecting his own life. In the mansion, there were inevitably those who secretly spoke ill of my secondary daughter status, but with my experience from 2 lifetimes, those who opposed me certainly had no good ending. That day, my maid Emma brought a letter, saying it was for the crown prince. The crown prince happened to be away from the Eastern Palace today, which was currently under my management. Important, looking letters naturally came into my hands. I recognized my sister's handwriting at a glance. I sneered, my sister still loved writing letters. In my previous life, when my sister faked death, only I knew about it. So naturally she would write letters complaining to me. Now she had openly eloped with her lover, yet the recipient was clearly addressed to the Crown Prince. The first sentence in the letter expressed missing the Crown Prince. Your Highness, reading this letter is like seeing me. Every word and line contains Victoria's longing and affection. My sister wrote about her recent situation. Victoria had left the Blackwood family outside, bringing nothing but her belly, following that scholar. Every meal consisted of the wild vegetable porridge my sister loved most. She also got to wash dishes and do laundry daily for the man she loved. No one forced my sister to wear gold, silver, and jewels to display her noble lady status anymore. Instead, she haggled over a few copper coins with merchants at the market. She couldn't even keep a silver hairpin, her hair tied only with a fabric strip. Adrian, her beloved, seemed to have changed. Before eloping, he swore to study hard for the imperial examinations, but after eloping, I never saw him holding a book again. He idled away his days drinking with ruffians at brothels, owing considerable wine debts. Victoria got angry, but only silently cooked wild vegetable porridge for her lover, quietly washing his wine-scented clothes. My sister wrote that her hands had cracked and calloused. She deliberately emphasized that the Crown Prince once praised her beautiful hands as jade, meant for playing instruments. Yet now, from washing and doing laundry, they had become rough and ugly. My sister wanted the Crown Prince to pity her. She had regretted but couldn't bring herself to say it, so she hinted in the letter that she wasn't living well, waiting for the Crown Prince to actively show mercy and take her back to live a wealthy life. But my sister didn't expect this letter to fall into my hands. I turned toward the candle beside me, bringing the letter close. After it nearly burned completely, I coldly commanded, "Bring paper and brush here." Previously in the mansion, whenever my sister was punished, she made me copy text by hand. To avoid the teacher discovering, my handwriting had to match my sister's exactly. Over time, I mastered my sister's handwriting to the point of perfect forgery. That evening, I gave the forged letter to the Crown Prince. Sister wrote to Your Highness. The Crown Prince recognized Victoria's handwriting at a glance. His lips curled up with a kind of successful revenge satisfaction. She must have suffered enough hardship to come admit her mistakes to me. He opened the letter, only to find it written, Adrian and I are deeply in love, intimate day and night, our feelings overflowing. The child is over 6 months now. I write this letter specifically to inform Your Highness. If Your Highness doesn't mind, when the child is born, we can let them acknowledge Your Highness as their godfather. After all, Your Highness once loved me so much. Though you're not the child's biological father, Adrian is well educated and willing to let the Crown Prince be the child's godfather, which could be considered fulfilling Your Highness's past affection for me. The Crown Prince read this letter and turned purple with rage. That adulterous couple is truly shameless. He stood up cursing, tearing the letter to pieces. I took the opportunity to advise him to calm down, but he roughly pushed me onto the bed. He had been stimulated by that letter. My sister had betrayed him, and he wanted to vent on another woman to satisfy his wounded male pride. That woman was me, the substitute he had married to me. It was another extremely disgusting night. The next morning, I woke to find the maid bringing up a thick bowl of contraceptive soup as usual. Since entering the Eastern Palace, I had to drink contraceptive soup every time I served him. The Crown Prince still missed my sister. He didn't want other women to have his children. But last night's letter had completely broken him. From today, you don't need to drink contraceptive soup anymore. He snatched the medicine bowl from my hands, commanding in an ordering tone, "Quickly bear me a prince. I must make Victoria regret." I obediently nodded. After all, he would later ascend as emperor. If I wanted to abandon my husband and follow my son, I had to get pregnant first. As directed by the Crown Prince, within 2 months of stopping the contraceptive medicine, I became pregnant. During this time, my sister continuously wrote letters to the Crown Prince, but all were intercepted by my maid Emma and delivered to me first. After reading them, I would burn them and then forge my sister's handwriting to write completely different letters. In the letters, Victoria said she had been pushed by her lover and miscarried, suffering unbearably. The Crown Prince read letters I wrote saying Victoria and her lover were intimate during the day, accidentally hurting the baby. After miscarrying, her body was weak. She wanted to ask the Crown Prince to send imperial physicians to care for and nourish her body so she could soon conceive another child for her lover. In the letter, Victoria said her lover got drunk daily, his whole body reeking terribly, nothing like the noble Crown Prince, making my sister nostalgic. The Crown Prince read that the lover was physically strong, unlike the Crown Prince who was always sickly. When writing the letter, she still remembered that day when the Crown Prince vomited filth on her, nauseating her so much she couldn't sleep. Fortunately, my sister's lover was fragrant. In the letter, Victoria said her lover was fickle, frequenting brothels and bringing back diseases, begging the Crown Prince to save her from this sea of suffering. The Crown Prince read that the lover cherished my sister, the two inseparable. Every time she saw her lover's face, it lifted my sister's spirits, but thinking of the Crown Prince made her nauseous. Every time he read the letters, the Crown Prince would vomit blood in anger. Then I would prepare medicine and bring it before him, using my blood as a catalyst. The Crown Prince was moved to tears, embracing me and saying he would only love me for life. I patted his head like petting a dog. A year later, I smoothly gave birth to a prince. Father, seeing I not only received favor in the Eastern Palace but now had a child, making my position extremely secure, and that the Crown Prince's body grew stronger day by day while the Empress and Emperor were seriously ill, the throne would sooner or later be the Crown Prince's. Father bet all of the Blackwood family's future on me, treating it as if Victoria, the eldest daughter, never existed. Mother argued with father several times about this. Father criticized her in return for not teaching her daughter well. Mother, seeing her biological daughter's ruined reputation while I, originally a concubine's child, had a brilliant future, was furious beyond measure. She gritted her teeth with hatred, believing that my sister's fake death being exposed that day was all my arrangement. Otherwise, my sister wouldn't have fallen into such a difficult situation. To revenge her daughter, she took advantage of my confinement to bribe servants to add red flower powder to my medicine. A small amount of red flower powder could be used as medicine, but used on new mothers would cause postpartum hemorrhage. New mothers in confinement were already prone to bleeding. Some imperial physicians would interpret it as normal postpartum symptoms. By the time they discovered the blood flow increasing daily, it would be too late. The new mother's constitution would be severely damaged. Though not life-threatening, she wouldn't live long. Western wrong people understood red flower powder very well. Years ago, my mother was also tormented to death by mother using this same method. Now mother wanted to use the same method to shorten my life. But she didn't know that from the first bowl of medicine, I had already detected the red flower powder inside. That bowl of medicine was evidence of mother plotting against the Crown Princess. The Crown Prince had been angered by Victoria. Naturally, he wouldn't show mercy to her mother. So mother's life fell into my hands for me to deal with. Guards searched her room and found a box of red flower powder. I didn't torture her much. Just had someone brew that entire box of red flower powder into a bowl of soup and pour it down mother's throat. Let her taste the feeling of cold body and knife, cutting stomach pain, finally dying from hemorrhaging. Mother couldn't hold on long and quickly died from illness. Father feared me even more. Occasionally when meeting me in the Eastern Palace, he would bow extremely respectfully, afraid I would remember how my mother died and take father's life in revenge. One family shares glory and shame together. Father expressed his loyalty to me. He said he would do everything to help me become empress, help his grandson become crown prince, so the Blackwood family line could reach its peak. He now acted less like my father and more like my subject, a loyal subject. The Poyang City Prefecture reported a murder case, saying a common woman had poisoned her husband's food and killed him. The prefecture arrested the woman, but she cried out that she was the eldest daughter of the general's mansion, the crown princess designate, saying she should have been the future empress. That common woman was my sister. The crown prince personally issued an edict ordering the prefecture to release Victoria. 2 months later, the emperor passed away, and the crown prince smoothly ascended the throne. With the full support of the entire Blackwood family behind me, the empress position could belong to no one else but me. The night before the enthronement ceremony, the crown prince held my hand tightly and said earnestly, Sophia, I will absolutely never betray you. His face showed gentleness, but the smile in his eyes was cold as ice. The Empress enthronement ceremony proceeded very smoothly. But halfway through, a woman in coarse cloth with a haggard appearance suddenly burst in. It was my sister who had eloped 2 years ago and just returned to the capital. My sister was only 2 years older than me, but now she seemed to have aged 10 years more. Eating wild vegetable porridge had made her haggard beauty fade completely. Several strands of white hair had grown on her head, very conspicuous. I looked into the Emperor's eyes. He showed no surprise at Victoria's appearance. I guessed that he had tacitly allowed this woman to enter the palace. Since the Emperor ordered the prefecture to release Victoria, he had intended to tolerate Victoria's return to the capital, even tacitly allowing Victoria to enter the palace. Your Majesty, I am Victoria. Victoria had poisoned Adrian to death but was released and declared innocent by the prefecture. The prefecture said it was the Crown Prince's intention. Victoria joyfully thought it was Alexander's affection for her, so she tried every means to escape from that remote village back to the capital. As soon as Victoria entered the imperial city, she received much favor. Even entering the palace went smoothly without obstacles. She thought Alexander was waiting for her return. My sister naively thought that as long as she turned back, she would still gloriously become empress, become the emperor's bright moon. Observing carefully, one would notice my sister had deliberately dressed up before coming. But unfortunately, the only jewelry on my sister's head now was just a crude silver hairpin. The clothes on her body were also just woven from coarse cloth. Her figure, due to miscarriage without proper care, had become bloated and distorted. She had thought their reunion would be full of emotion, but Victoria now in Alexander's eyes was just an ugly woman who had betrayed and toyed with his feelings. He tolerated Victoria entering the capital only to humiliate my sister. The officials present didn't recognize the woman for them. They fearfully cried out, "Could this be the Blackwood family's eldest daughter who died young years ago?" General Blackwood hurriedly jumped out to deny. "My eldest daughter died long ago. The secondary daughter is now the Empress. I don't know this woman." Victoria knew her mother had passed away, and the Blackwood family would never acknowledge her again. My sister placed all her hopes on the Emperor. "Your Majesty, I wrote you so many letters. Why didn't you ever reply?" Mentioning those letters, veins began bulging on Alexander's forehead, but he suppressed his anger and asked back, "Were all the words in those letters truly from your heart?" Victoria nodded vigorously. "All true words. Every single word was from the bottom of my heart." Victoria had truly regretted. Plotting to kill her lover was to show her determination and sincerity to Alexander. Writing those letters, over time the content became half complaint, half confession, almost turning into love letters. Those letters were so sincere and humble, any man would soften. Victoria was very confident every word and sentence in the letters expressed her belated affection for your Majesty, not a single false word. But the Emperor's expression grew darker. "Very well. Not a single false word." Victoria had no idea those letters had all been swapped by me. The Emperor now understood that all the boasting in the letters about Victoria and her lover's romantic life came straight from Victoria's own mouth. Suddenly he burst out laughing at himself for being more ridiculous than a clown on stage. Victoria thought the Emperor was happy to see her again, so she smiled back at him. Victoria spoke as if it were natural. "Your Majesty, it was all my fault before. I was wrong. Now I'm willing to marry you and sit on that Empress throne." Victoria stepped forward to hold the Emperor's hand, but the Emperor pulled my hand instead. "I already have an Empress. What are you?" Victoria's humble, weak gaze when looking at me turned to crazy hatred. "Wrong. All wrong. I should be the Empress. Today I should have been your beloved wife whom you found again. Not Sophia." My sister angrily pointed at me. "She's just a lowly substitute. She's just my substitute." Substitute. The Emperor embraced me. "My Empress was raised to be noble, beautiful and glorious. How could she be a substitute for an ugly woman like you?" Victoria froze in place, suddenly collapsing. "You despise me. I became like this, isn't it all because Sophia harmed me?" "Sophia, it's you who harmed me. Everything you have today should have been mine. Your Majesty, your illness originally didn't need Sophia's blood as a catalyst. Sophia deceived you." Victoria viciously glared at me. "As long as she dies, everything will be like in my dreams. I'll become a sheltered noble lady again, Become the Empress. Victoria finished speaking and suddenly pulled out the silver hairpin from her head, stabbing toward me. I hadn't even blinked when Victoria stopped mid-air. A sword pierced through Victoria's belly. Victoria looked down to see the sword hilt in the Emperor's hand. Victoria couldn't believe it, her voice trembling. Your Majesty, what are you doing? I'm Victoria, your most beloved. The Emperor laughed coldly. For 2 years, you wrote me daily about the intimate affairs between you and your lover. What did you take me for? My Victoria died long ago in that tomb. Don't defile her. The Emperor pulled out the long sword. Victoria's blood splattered across the ground. All the court officials were shocked. General Blackwood, seeing his eldest daughter stabbed through the belly by a sword, only felt disgraced, wishing he could immediately sever ties. Victoria had no chance to explain. Her body fell backward, rolling down the steps, blood flowing everywhere. The silver hairpin from her head also fell. I picked up the silver hairpin, walked down the steps to help my sister pin it back in her hair. Everyone watching thought I was a benevolent empress. Only Victoria heard what I said. All these years, the letters sister wrote to His Majesty were all delivered to me. Victoria's eyes widened in shock. What did you do? I spoke expressionlessly. I just edited the content a bit. All of sister's regret and affection, I changed to stories about you and that adulterer. The Emperor originally still had lingering feelings for sister, but reading those letters day after day, no matter how much affection, it was all erased, leaving only disgust. Without those letters, when sister returned today, the Emperor really would have reunited with you. I smiled, whispering in my sister's ear. It was I who cut off sister's path to becoming Empress. Victoria raised her hand to grab my collar, wanting to kill me. I shook the silver hairpin in my hand. Want to use this hairpin to pierce my throat? Just like in your dream. I spoke of my sister's dream, making her feel terrified. I touched Victoria's neck, slowly finding the vital point, smiling eerily like a ghost. That beautiful dream of sisters. You used my sympathy to fake death and escape. I had to bear the consequences of your selfishness, marrying a man I didn't love, treated as a tool for venting desires, struggling to survive. Life was so hard to stabilize, yet you returned. As soon as you returned, you shattered everything I had painstakingly built. Victoria, I just wanted to live, but you stingily refused to give me even a small chance. If you want to escape, then escape. If you want to be Empress, then be Empress. But what about me? Am I an ant to be trampled under your feet? No, that's not right, sister. I am someone who will resist. The hell you dreamed of, I truly experienced it. Crawling out from hell, someone like me naturally must collect debts. The silver hairpin stabbed into Victoria's neck. My sister's face began twisting in pain. Fresh blood spurted from her throat. I gripped my sister's jaw tightly, enunciating each word clearly. All of sister's tragedies in this life were gifted by me. When standing before King Yama, go ahead and report my name, Sophia. See if King Yama will help you seek justice or condemn you to the 18th level of hell. I pierced Victoria's vital point in front of all the civil and military officials. Earlier, everyone thought I was a benevolent empress. Now they saw my cruelty. The Emperor frowned. Empress, you're too ruthless. She wouldn't have survived anyway. I stood up, gently explaining. Your Majesty wanted to kill her. I merely followed your Majesty's wishes and added one more stab. The Emperor said nothing more. Returned to the study. The enthronement ceremony, half completed, was bloodied. Naturally, it couldn't continue. The 3-year-old prince cried loudly and was carried to me by his wet nurse. I held the child, kissing his cheek, watching the Emperor's departing figure. Victoria's appearance had made the Emperor suspicious of me. He secretly found a renowned physician from Western Rong to research my Western Rong prescriptions. That physician said even without my blood as a catalyst, the Emperor's illness could still be cured. So the Empress deceived me from the beginning. He summoned me alone to the study for interrogation. You made me trust you. In reality, I didn't need your blood as a catalyst. But because of that, I forgave you for many things. Thinking carefully, that fake death scheme years ago, you were clearly targeting Victoria. If you only wanted to expose Victoria's fake death, why use a stone coffin? You wanted to kill your sister from long ago. Even I was just your chess piece. You're too audacious. The more he thought, the angrier he became. Sophia, you're the one who deceived the Emperor. Though I knelt before him, I remained calm as usual. Your Majesty, how many years have you been drinking my medicine? The Emperor answered. Exactly 5 years. If I were your majesty, I absolutely wouldn't hastily punish someone who has taken care of my health for 5 whole years. I raised my head, because you might not know whether during those 5 years, I poisoned the medicine or not. The emperor realized something. He suddenly stood up, about to order the execution of this lawless empress, but saw his face suddenly turn white as snow, his eyes filling with blood vessels. You? What did you do? His body tilted and fell into my arms. I slowly stood up, opening the study door. The eunuchs and guardside all respectfully bowed to me. Empress. The emperor is ill. I adjusted the phoenix hairpin on my head. I fear it's not good. Quickly summon the imperial physicians. The eunuchs and guards looked at each other, immediately looking grave and going to work. When the emperor woke up, it was already 10 days later. The court had been taken over by me. He was too weak to endure. The trusted aides by his side had all been dismissed by me. Alone lying on the bed like a lonely emperor, he asked me, "What exactly did you put in the medicine? Your Majesty never thought about why your difficult illness that stumped the entire medical academy became immediately effective after drinking my medicine." I stood by the dragon bed, holding the military tali I had just seized from your Majesty, smiling charmingly. Because from the beginning, I used strong poison on your Majesty. That couldn't be called medicine but should be called poison. Poison naturally has immediate effects. But this poison also couldn't take your Majesty's life right away. At least within 5 years, your Majesty would be discovered to have contracted this strange illness. What a pity. I originally wanted to maintain a harmonious life with your Majesty for a few more years. But your Majesty, because of one sentence from Victoria, doubted my years of companionship. It truly chills my heart. The moment your Majesty doubted me was when my heart died, and also your Majesty's final time. I took out a stack of letters and threw them at the emperor's face. These were letters Victoria had written before, not yet all burned. The emperor weakly picked up the letters, flipping through them back and forth. They turned out to be all words of confession and regret from Victoria to him. All these years, the letters your Majesty saw were all forged by me. Including those intimate stories, all fabricated by me. The girl your Majesty loved most had eloped with her lover 2 years ago and was abandoned. At that time, she truly wanted to turn back and repent to your Majesty. But your Majesty wronged her. That day your Majesty stabbed her belly with a sword. Do you regret it now? The emperor clutched those letters, his whole body trembling with anger until he vomited a mouthful of black blood. My forged letters always made your Majesty vomit blood in anger. Days and months of suppressed organs, combined with the long-standing poison in your Majesty's body, had long ago drained your strength. I bent down to observe your Majesty's miserable state. I not only dare deceive the sovereign, but also dare kill the sovereign. This poisoning scheme was planned long ago. Empress plotting rebellion. The emperor angrily pounded the bed, trying to call for help. I kindly reminded him. No, everyone in the palace is busy with the grand ceremony of the previous emperor's passing and the new emperor's ascension. No one will hear your Majesty's commands. Sophia, you're an evil woman. You and your sister are both cold-hearted and ruthless. Only you're even more vicious than your sister. Where is your Majesty kind then? Initially, you treated me as a substitute for my sister. Later, you saw me as a life-saving medicine. Finally, angry at my sister, you used me as a chess piece. Now that Victoria is dead and your Majesty thinks your body has recovered, and the prince has grown up, you want to discard me like worn shoes. I reached out my slender hand to choke the emperor's neck. Your Majesty thinks I'm a bridge for you to cross the river, then remove. Why doesn't your Majesty think that you yourself are also the bridge under my feet, also a chess piece I can kill at any time? The emperor struggled, but how could a sick weakling have any strength? I easily gripped the emperor's neck tightly, cutting off his air supply. The emperor gradually suffocated under my hands, slowly weakening, finally glaring at me with bloodshot eyes. Your Majesty wanted to kill me, but now I'm the one killing you. Dawn was breaking. Emperor Alexander passed away. I held the 3-year-old prince before the respectful kneeling of all civil and military officials, step by step ascending the golden throne, with the status of Empress Dowager Regent for the young emperor. The 3-year-old prince's appearance and temperament didn't resemble the late emperor's bearing at all. He was very attached to me, babbling and asking me to kiss him. I kissed his cheek, telling him, You are the legitimate crown prince. Your father has passed away. This world is yours. But before you come of age, I lifted the jade seal, my lips slightly curving. This world is mine to decide. Sophia transforms from victim to ruthless avenger, manipulating everyone to achieve supreme power. Victoria is selfishly blind, sacrificing everything for illusory love only to regret it too late. Alexander only views women as tools, ultimately dying at the hands of someone he despised. The plot is dark with multiple layers of betrayal. In this tale of betrayal and revenge, we encounter powerful emotions. The elder sister's deception through faking death shows how desperate people become for love. Her elopement leads to misery, while the younger sister's cunning plan unfolds gradually. The story explores themes of jealousy, manipulation, and ambition. Key phrases include fake death, substitute bride, and family honor. The protagonist transforms from victim to schemer, using poison and forgery to achieve power. This dramatic narrative teaches us about consequences and how resentment can drive people to extreme actions. Every betrayal creates a chain of vengeance.